What's up, Hoosier Nation? We're back with episode 15 of the Rock Report. It's your host, Ricky Tamus, here with Sean Ratcher. We have a very special guest today, Mark Deal, as you can see on screen. Indiana's coming off a loss versus the number 2 in the country. We're still 10-1, top 10 in the country. But we have a huge game this weekend, matchup with Purdue. That's the bucket game, as everyone knows it. Deal, let's kind of talk us through that. Introduce yourself. Tell the fans a little about yourself so they can know more.
Mark Deal is my name. 1979 IU graduate, undergrad. 1986 got my master's at Indiana. Played football at Indiana from 1975 to 1978. Then was a graduate assistant in 1979. Then became a college football coach. And coached at Wabash College, Marshall University, Kansas State, Virginia Military Institute, VMI, Rutgers University, before being called back here by Coach Mallory and hired me when Coach Mallory came back and came back to IU in 1996 and have been here ever since.
So when we take a look at things, overall, I would say you are the one person I know that just embodies being an Indiana Hoosier. And when we look at this week, it's the biggest week in college football. It's rivalry week. Obviously, a massive, massive rivalry, and you're the historian. Start things off. Take us through the history and the start of the bucket game.
Well, we're playing their 99th bucket game on Saturday, which is really cool. Would have been the 100th, except for the 2020 game was canceled. So this would have been the 100th bucket game. But when we didn't play in 2020, this one came back to number 99. The bucket was started by the alumni clubs of Purdue University and Indiana University of Chicago that wanted to have a traveling trophy for the winner of the Indiana-Purdue game each year. And in October of 1925, they commissioned some people to find something that would represent what Indiana, the state of Indiana culture would be. And what they came up with was a bucket. An old oaken bucket that was a bucket that had been in a well. And that came from a poem that was written in the early 1800s, not about Indiana, but it described life in Indiana by Samuel Woodworth. And he was actually from Massachusetts. And the poem goes something like this: "How dear to my heart are the scenes of my childhood, with fond recollection presents them to view, the orchard, the meadow, the deep tangled wildwood, and every young spot that my infancy knew. The wide spreading pond and the mill that's beside it, the bridge and the rock where the cataract fell, the cot of my father and the dairy house nigh it, and the old oaken bucket that hung in the well." And that poem was called The Old Oaken Bucket. And that's where it came from, and that's why they wanted to search for a bucket. They were in southern Indiana, in between Hanover, Indiana, and Kent, Indiana, and they found a bucket in a well down in southern Indiana on the property of Bruner Farm, the Bruner family, and Mr. Bruner gave them that bucket, and that was the bucket that we have used ever since 1925. It's really cool. After we went to the Pinstripe Bowl in 2015, in January of that year, we got a phone call from the family of the Bruner family. And it was the grandson, Bill Bruner, whose dad was in failing health and wanted to see the bucket one more time if he could. And this was January, and I called back, and he was in Cincinnati. Well, sadly, Bill Bruner's dad passed away before I could bring the bucket for him to see. And while I struck up this conversation with them and eventually a friendship. I asked them, do you know where Bruner Farm is? Because I'm a historical guy. I love history of everything. I was a history minor here at IU. But I especially love the history of Indiana University. And that was something that, I always thought about, boy, it'd be cool if you could find the well or find the farm. And Bill Bruner didn't know, but there was his aunt who was in her 90s that possibly knew where it was, and going back and forth. And this was in late spring, and finally, in June, they thought they found Bruner Farm, and was with they'd been to the library and the county seat and got everything. Well, they found where it was. And so I went down there to see them and went to their house, and they took me out there, and it was on a county road. And then you had to turn off, and there was a house there, but way behind the house was a not even a dirt road, just a path of tires with grass in between it that probably went a half a mile. And there was the Bruner farmhouse. And right in front of it was a covered now by metal well of the well that it was. And it was really cool to see that. And as we were standing there, I was standing with Bill and Lisa Bruner. And as we're standing there, I started to recite the poem. And, and I said the wide spreading pond and the mill that's beside it. And Lisa Bruner said, "Oh my gosh." She said, "There's a pond right over here." And there was a pond over there. The bridge in the rock where the cataract fell, behind the pond and behind the house, there was a stream that went through. It was the perfect description of the poem that they found, and that found that well. It was really cool. So I went back down in July to I brought some people from IU. I said, "Hey, we'd like to do a story." Andy Graham from the Herald Times, is a good friend of mine, and this is just the kind of stuff that Andy loves to write about. And so we all went down there. It took two van loads down there, and we took pictures of it. And got that, and I got them with there, and I got pictures of the well, and I was with the Bruners, and behind me was the house. And it's funny because this was July 20th, 2016, and they said it's a good thing you got it now, because the county now owns this property and owns this house, and this farmhouse is going to be used for fire preparation. So they were going to set it on fire, and then put it out, set it on fire, put it out, which is sad. And I haven't been down there since, so I don't think that that house is there anymore. So, but if you'll excuse me 1 second here, let me get a prop.
Bet it's a piece of wood. Seen it. There it is.
There it is. I think I brought that to a team meeting once, didn't I?
Yeah.
Okay. But this is part of the Bruner farmhouse. And as we were walking, I knew they were going to burn the thing down in in a matter of a month. And so I just kind of sneaked over there. They were all taking a bunch of pictures. I was kind of in the background. A nice day, and I kind of saw this laying on the ground, stuck it in my back pocket, and said, they kind of laughed. I said, "This is a little souvenir for me." So that's what this is from Bruner Farm. So I'm gonna mount it, and I haven't gotten around to doing it yet, but it's pretty cool, to have that. And so this friendship started with Bill and Lisa Bruner, who, as I found out, are big IU fans. And they're Southern Indiana, and they were big Bobby Knight fans too, big IU basketball and Bob Knight fans, but they love IU football too. From that moment on, from 2016 until last Saturday, I get a text from Bill and Lisa Bruner before every game, wishing me good luck and wishing the Hoosiers good luck, which is really a cool thing. That they text me before every game, and win or lose, I get a text from them, and it's really neat. They've been back to our home games. We haven't had that many. We had 16, 18. We didn't play in 20 and 22. So they've been back 3 times since then, which we had one of them canceled, as you guys well know. So they've been back to games. I don't know whether they're coming this week or not. We'll have to wait and see. But they become friends and really great supporters. And Bill and Lisa Bruner, it's great to have had this friendship because of that, and because of what they've done and what his grandfather did, that has shaped a rivalry and is just a great trophy.
So kind of building on that, we talk about the implications of this game and what it means. Take away all the political, college football, playoff, Big Ten championship, all that. Just what this means to Indiana people. I think one thing I learned was this rivalry is way, way bigger than, growing up you imagine. And once you're in the program, it's next level. And I just kind of want you to elaborate more on what does this mean to not only Indiana fans, but just this state in general.
Oh, I think it's one of the big cultural events of this state, of the year. It's funny, after the game Saturday, before we got on the plane to come home, I was talking to President Pamela Whitten, and we were talking about this and the old Oaken Bucket game, and obviously she's the president of the university, and I said it's one of the big cultural events, the old Oaken Bucket game, whether it's in Lafayette or whether it's in Bloomington, of the year. I would put it there with the Indianapolis 500 as far as what embodies the Hoosier State, this football game. And it's part of it is because of the trophy we play for. I mean, it's a really cool trophy. It's unique. It's a unique trophy. That Bruner Farm has been there since the 1800s, and that bucket is probably 160 to 170 years old. That has been there. That bucket was used by a group that came in to fight named the Morgan's Raiders, that came across the border from Kentucky into Indiana during the Civil War, and they used that. They legend has it that they used to drink out of it, and it makes all the sense when you think of when war in those days. You follow the horse. They're on horseback. You follow the rivers because you follow the streams, the bodies of water, because you're not going to have hills. The topography, that's where it's going to be flat. So it makes all the sense that they came there, and with that river behind the house, and then the pond of using their water and using that. So it's a I just think it's a really cool event, for the state. Obviously, it means a lot more to those of us that are participating in it. It's not the tailgate, let's have some fun thing. I don't ever look at that game as fun. I look at that game as an opportunity, and it's intense. If fun is intense, then it's fun.
The Old Oak and Bucket, that rivalry game started with the trophy in 1925. You've been around for a lot of those games. Kind of tell us your favorite memory of the past, like, and how you view this game.
Well, my family, uh, there's a lot, and my starting with my father, Russell Muttdeal, who played at IU in the 40s, um, and my dad never lost to Purdue. Um, and he had his schooling interrupted, like so many did back in the 1940s, by World War II, when he was drafted after the 1942 season. And he missed all of 1943, 1944, and he got discharged in September 1945. And then he came back and they were undefeated and won the Big Ten championship in 1945. My dad was the captain of the team, was an All-American. Um, and then my brother Mike, my older brother Mike, played from 1967 to 1969. Freshmen weren't eligible then to play. And obviously, he played in the 1967 bucket game, which is one of the most famous ever, which sent IU to the Rose Bowl and won the Big Ten championship. So both of them were Big Ten champions there. And then I played, as I said, from 75 to 78. Did not get to play in the 75 game. I got to dress, which was really cool as a freshman, because only back in those days, only 60 could dress. And by the end of the year, I had moved up to a backup long snapper. So that
There we
they had to
go.
dress me. Sean, you can understand that. And so I got to dress, didn't get to play. And we didn't win. But then the next 2 years, in 76 and 77, we won back to back. So all in all, my family, my dad, my brother, and myself, we've won 8. We've played in 8 Old Oak and bucket winning games teams for IU, and it is the most. We've won more games than any family, Old Oak and bucket games, than any family in IU history, and we're very proud of that. That our family has played in 8 winning Old Oak and bucket games. So means a little more, obviously, to our family. And that I get that from my father. My dad taught. I'm a product of my father, and can remember as a little kid. So the first Old Oak and bucket game I saw was 1965. That I remember. It may have taken me to a game, but I was not old enough to remember. I do remember 1965 here in Bloomington, and that didn't fare as well as we had wanted. But I've seen a lot of good ones. I was there in 1967 when IU won the Big Ten and my brother played. That was really, really cool. So when you ask me what my favorite one is, that's like saying who's your favorite child. You can't say they're all great. They're all equal. They all have their shining moments. They're all equal. I love them all. From as far as a moment is concerned and stories, there's some neat ones. 1976, we went up to Purdue. Indiana had not beaten Purdue up there in 14 years. And it was my sophomore year. And with a win, we were going to finish third in the Big Ten. And we would be 4-4 in the Big Ten and 5-6 overall. And if we could win up there. And that was that was quite a day. Mike Harkrader was a true freshman running back for us, and he became in that game the first true freshman there wasn't redshirting back then. So he was the first freshman to gain 1,000 yards in a season in the Big Ten for us, and he did in that game. Mike in the first half came up limping. They went and looked at him, and they said, "Well, you're all right. We could tape it up a little bit. It hurt his leg." And he said, "You can go ahead and play." And so he did. And third quarter, Mike got hit into there used to be a chain link fence behind the benches in front of where Purdue, the stands were. For some reason, they had a chain link fence there in the 70s. Mike got hit late out of bounds and hit into that fence, and his other leg came up lame. So it turned out Mike had a broken fibula on one leg that he played with the whole second half, and he broke the tibia on these other legs. He broke both his legs in that game. When they had carted him off, but the gritty showed just that's what the old Oaken Bucket game's all about, is guys doing things like that, playing hurt, and we won, and carried Coach Corso off the field. Was great moment. And that day, a tradition started. So we came in, and Coach Corso's best friend, it was awesome to be with him when he was here a couple of weeks ago when we had game day. Game day was there. I spent Friday morning with him. Again, even though I'd just seen him a whole bunch, I had to go over to St. John Arena where they were having their meetings, and I had to see him. It just, I owe Lee Corso so much for where I am today. And, he changed my life, really changed my life for what I was going to do and what I did from giving me a chance to play college football, giving me a scholarship, getting my starting coaching. I mean, just so many things. Anyway, so we carry Coach off the field, and his best friend, and those of who are Catholic at IU know at St. Paul's Church, there is the basement is called Higgins Hall after Father James Higgins. Well, Father Higgins was the pastor there at St. Paul's all the time in the 70s when we were in school, and he was Coach Corso's best friend. Coach Corso goes to mass every day, and he was his best friend. And Father Higgins would come on our sideline. He was on our sidelines at every game, went to every game, road trip. He said mass before every game to our team. And Father Higgins at times would wear a red collar instead of a white collar on the sidelines. I mean, he was awesome. But Father Higgins would, and this is, think this is the 1970s, he would watch the games a lot of times on one knee with a cigar in his mouth. And he'd smoke a cigar all on the sidelines the whole game. And it was just Father Higgins with the cigars. So anyway, so we come off, we beat Purdue 20-14. We have an unbelievable great day. We're all running off the field, run into the locker room. And as soon as we get into the locker room, there's a cigar in every one of our lockers, courtesy of Father Higgins. So those of you that have seen me smoke a cigar after we beat Purdue, that is where that comes from. And he started that little cigar tradition. So when I came back, and came back and coached for Coach Mallory, and that really wasn't back. And so, when we beat Purdue, I had to light up a stogie for Father Higgins. And so that's where the cigar tradition, I guess I reignited that from as honor to honor Father Higgins. The other thing about that game was in the 1970s, unlike today, they didn't necessarily bring the bucket to the field like they do now. And so we won the game, and we're in there and we're going crazy and got the cigars, and we're, pouring Cokes and Sprites on each other like it's champagne, and just going berserk because we had not won there in 14 years. Well, as it turns out, our opponent did not bring the bucket even to the stadium because they didn't think that they were going to lose. And so we're in the locker room chanting, "We want the bucket, we want the bucket." And, yeah, it'll be here. Never came. And so we left without it. And the next day, Coach Corso had the former IU coach in the 1950s and early 60s, Coach Phil Dickens, drive up to Lafayette and get the bucket and bring it down. And he wanted him to do it, which I thought was a great touch. There's a great picture of Coach Corso and Coach Dickens when he came back holding the bucket up in front of Coach Corso's office with that. So it was a really cool thing. But I've never forgotten that. And those of us on the team never forgot that they didn't bring it to the stadium and deprived us of having that moment with the bucket after the game that you guys have had. And frankly, it pisses us off, and it still pisses me off to this day that they did not do that. So, but that is a true story, and that was the birth of that tradition. I wasn't smoking cigars at that time, so my dad was. So when I came out afterwards, I took the cigar and I gave it to my dad for him to smoke, because he would smoke in the car when driving, trips and stuff. So it was it's a really cool thing. It was a really cool thing with how that started with that.
So you talked about the cigars. You're igniting tradition back into this program. You're the historian. You are the bucket guy. You've got 46 new players in this program this season and a plethora of new coaches. What's your message? How are you igniting these guys to play in a rivalry game they probably don't know nothing about?
Well, I think Coach Signetti said it pretty good. He said these guys have played in rivalry games. They know what it's all about. They played in rivalry games, wherever they came from. Everybody has a rival, and and he's made sure that they know what a rivalry game is, and they know that. And Coach Signetti is his focus is entirely on this. Believe me, and he understands what it's all about. There's no doubt. He makes that very plain and very clear to the guys. We just got done with practice. We had a great practice tonight, I thought. Very focused. I thought went really well. That went really well for our Monday practice out there, and was very energetic, very crisp, very clean. Guys were lasered in, pretty much like they have been all year. So practice has been pretty good and lasered in all the whole time. So they day one was a success. Obviously, game plan goes in on Mondays. There's a lot of mental stuff to do on Mondays, but it was I thought it was really good. That was really good. So
awesome. So the last thing we got for you, every time we have a guest on, last thing we do is go around. We need a prediction for the game this weekend. Score prediction.
I'm not going to pick a score. I'm not going to pick a score. I'm just going to because I don't. You don't know you never know how the game's going to go. We will win. I'm going to predict that we will win, and that is all I'm going to say on that one.
All right,
so
Ricky,
I'll let you and Ricky decide what's going on the other one.
And the Hoosiers are a 27.5-point favorite. That's about 4 touchdowns, I would say. I think there's a fire ignited under these players after that one loss. There's a lot on the line. I say the Hoosiers win by 50 plus.
All right, kind of similar score. I'm thinking 56-7. My prediction is this is the day that Curtis Rourke really ingrains himself as an Indiana Hoosiers legend. 1 year stop here at Indiana, but I mean, this guy's given everything for this program, has shown he's an incredible individual, and honestly, one of the first guys in a long time that I've seen people rally around in Bloomington, Indiana, and make it just the happiest place on earth for 4 hours each Saturday. I've got the Hoosiers by a lot. Excited for it. Coach Deal, thank you so much for coming on.
I appreciate you guys, and you guys I know obviously help coach you guys and love you guys and all your teammates and all the Hoosiers out there. I know that best, and you guys played in the game. Uh, you we respect our opponent, and you have to respect your opponent. They have something we want, but they're going to fight hard for it, and you have to respect your opponent, and our guys will respect the game and respect our opponent, because if you don't, you're in for a lot of trouble, especially in this game, because you're fighting to the death on this. And I have a ton of respect for their coaches and a ton of respect for their players. Don't have to like them, but I respect them because I respect the game and respect what this game's all about.
Yeah, I mean, massive implications on the line. Disregard anything outside of this football game. This means so much more to everyone in this state, everyone in this program. Excited for it, excited to be in Bloomington for just an incredible weekend and to see this Hoosier season cap off like it has never been done before. But Coach Deal, we really appreciate you. We appreciate the pride you have in this program, the pride you have for this football game. Thank you so much for coming on. Looking forward to seeing you this weekend.
We can't wait to see you guys too and beat Purdue.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Go Hoosiers. As always, it's Beat Purdue.